Red Bull has been the class of the field this season as a team, but there is one more thing to add to that. Their number one driver, Max Verstappen, is the cherry on top of the proverbial cake. With lightning-fast reflexes and a fearless approach to every corner, Verstappen is like a human missile hurtling toward the finish line. But what sets him apart from the rest of the grid? Let's find out. The tantalizingly formidable display by Red Bull during the 2022 F1 season raised the bar of expectations for Max Verstappen this new season. Currently, no one in the racing world can rival Verstappen's prowess on the track, and a triumphant third championship would firmly establish this as the era of Verstappen in F1, marked by a sea of orange-drenched Dutch supporters rejoicing in the glory of a once-in-a-generation talent. Verstappen's commanding victory in last year's championship, where he clinched an unprecedented 15 wins compared to his teammate Sergio Perez's mere 2, and his spectacular performance in the Belgian Grand Prix, where he surged from 14th place to 1st in just 12 laps, and won the race by a staggering 18 seconds, attests to the fact that he is truly a force to be reckoned with. One secret to Max Verstappen's success over the years has been his car setup and his preferred way of handling the car. Let's take a look at how Red Bull has set up Max Verstappen's car. Each driver has their own preferred balance, which is a reflection of their comfort level and their ability to manipulate the car to their advantage. Typically, the best drivers thrive when the car balance is consistent yet challenging enough to push them to their limits. While drivers often use the terms like understeer and oversteer to describe the car's behavior, these descriptions are subjective and depend on the individual driver's perspective. For instance, in 2018, Romain Grosjean complained of understeer in his Haas car, whereas his teammate Kevin Magnussen didn't feel the same issue. This disparity is akin to the current situation at Red Bull, where the early last season car had more understeer, which was preferable for Perez, while Verstappen found it limiting his corner entry speed, as the car evolved to be a little more pointy both through the generation of aero load and the way the aero center of pressure moved forward when on the brakes, and in corner entry, Verstappen appeared to have gotten more out of it. But why is Max more comfortable with a pointy car? The responsiveness of the front end of a car is vital in determining entry speed into a corner. The rear of the car may stay firmly planted, but it's the front grip that decides how quickly you can turn and rotate the car. The key is to generate as much front-end grip as possible, usually through braking techniques, in order to load up the front axle and coax the car into turning more sharply. This, in turn, allows for more efficient cornering and better performance throughout. Think of it like a shopping trolley with locked front wheels, which is hindered by its inability to turn quickly. This is comparable to a car with understeer, where the front end lacks the responsiveness to turn effectively. On the other hand, a pointy car with a more responsive front end is akin to a shopping trolley with its rear wheels free, allowing for sharp turns on a dime. However, it's not just about increasing front-end grip to achieve a more responsive car. The balance between the front and rear grip is equally important. A car with a rear that rotates more easily allows the driver to influence its behavior under rotation proactively. This results in a car that can turn more sharply and provides a greater level of control through corners. While these are basic examples, they illustrate the spectrum of car behavior and the importance of balance and responsiveness for optimal performance. The dance between a driver and their car is one of the most crucial and intricate aspects of motorsports. And when it comes to achieving the perfect balance, the livelier rear end is often the key to unlocking greater speed and control. But it's a delicate balance. Too much liveliness can lead to unpredictability and loss of control. The most talented drivers use a combination of steering, brakes, and throttle to manipulate the car, striving for that elusive balance that allows for efficient rotation and maximum traction in the exit phase of a turn. And while this dance is happening at lightning-fast speeds, it's what separates the great drivers from the merely good ones. Red Bull has clearly recognized the importance of this balance, and their decision to go with a car that favors a livelier rear end reflects their belief in the abilities of their superstar driver Max Verstappen, while his teammate Sergio Perez was able to thrive with a slightly slower version of the car. Verstappen was pushing for a more dynamic set of characteristics that would allow him to extract even more speed and control, and it looks like he found it. With a car that has been pushed in this direction, Verstappen is now able to reach even greater heights. A driver's ability to push a car to its limits is like a delicate dance, requiring finesse and precision to stay on the edge of performance. The key to making a car faster lies in expanding that edge, allowing the driver to push even further without losing control. This is where Red Bull has excelled, by widening the car's performance envelope in a way that maximizes the skills of their star driver Verstappen. Of course, this dance is not a simple one, with many factors to consider, such as tyre management and race strategy, but ultimately the goal is the same: to give the driver more control over the car, allowing them to manipulate it to their will and extract every ounce of speed. And for Red Bull, this means a faster car on the track, thanks to the expert skills of their driver and the team's strategic approach to widening the performance envelope. When asked about Verstappen's driving style, teammate Perez explained in Bahrain last week, "We both want a good front end. It's just a question of how stable the rear end can be." Max has been able to cope with a looser rear end. Perez is not the first Red Bull driver to struggle more with that. Alex Albon spent a season and a half racing alongside Verstappen but struggled to get close to his level of performance, leading to his exit in favor of Perez. Albon said, "Everything looks natural for him when he's driving. It's a very clean driving style, but I know he's on the limit. Apparently, this comes so easily to Verstappen that he considers it natural." He said, "I never experienced a fast car which has understeer, turning less sharply than desired, in my life. In any category, I feel like if people ask me what is your driving style, I cannot tell you because I always adapt to what I get in the best way possible." Apart from the exceptional Red Bull machinery, something else that makes Verstappen a dominant force is his mental capacity. Formula One drivers are not just expert drivers, but also skilled multitaskers, handling a multitude of switches, dials, and buttons on their steering wheels while hurtling down the track at up to 220 miles per hour. In addition to driving, they must also assess tyre wear, weather conditions, rival drivers, and strategy options. It's a task that requires a massive mental capacity, which some drivers possess more naturally than others. In Verstappen's case, that ability is one that has been evident from the early days. Jody Egginton, the current technical director for AlphaTauri and former head of vehicle performance for Toro Rosso when Max Verstappen joined the team, notes that a driver's ability to provide feedback is critical in unlocking the car's potential. Even if young drivers lack the experience to understand why a car behaves a certain way through certain corners, their ability to identify and communicate those sensations is a major asset, Egginton said. That's been a good trait with Max and other young drivers, to be able to highlight something, even if it's just a comment whilst driving. That's a big standout. While teams work to get their cars in a rough setup window during Friday practice sessions, it's up to the driver to work with the team to fine-tune every small element that can make a difference. As Egginton notes, even a tiny tweak worth a half a tenth of a second could be the deciding factor between pole position and fourth place. In the high-pressure world of F1 racing, every detail matters, and the driver's ability to provide accurate feedback can make all the difference. In addition, Max has total dedication. Max Verstappen is a driver who is not easily swayed by the fame and fortune that comes with being a professional Formula One driver. Despite being in the public eye since his teenage years, he remains grounded and focused on one thing: improving his driving skills. When Verstappen is not at a race or training with his team, he can usually be found sim racing. He has a state-of-the-art simulator at home that he uses to compete against some of the best sim racers in the world. While it may not provide the same physical sensations as driving a real F1 car, it allows him to practice critical skills such as car control and setup. Verstappen's passion for sim racing is such that he even plans to install a simulator in his new motorhome, which he will use to travel around the European races. As he explained, "That way, I can just keep on driving when I'm back in the evening. I like it. It's my hobby in a way, and it just keeps you sharp as well." For Verstappen, driving is not just a job, it's a way of life. He is always looking for ways to improve and stay sharp, both on and off the track. Whether he's behind the wheel of a real F1 car or a virtual one, he's always looking to win. That will be all for today's video. What's your thought about Max Verstappen's dominance in F1? Let us know in the comments section below.